Today we're running Strawberry Lake Trail, located in the Sierra National Forest near Shaver Lake, California. This trail may not have the biggest obstacles in the area, but don't let it fool you. Between the loose rocks, narrow tree gaps, sharp turns, and recently fallen trees making some sections even tighter, Strawberry Lake can definitely keep you paying attention, especially in a longer vehicle like a Jeep Gladiator. Once you make it through, the views at the lake make the entire trip worth it. Before heading out there, I planned the trip using Trails Offroad. My favorite part is the waypoints feature because they basically let me scout the trail before I even leave the house. I can move through the route one waypoint at a time and see where the main obstacles are, what terrain looks like, how difficult certain sections might be, and where campsites or good stopping points are located. When you use those waypoints alongside the written trail guide, you can get a much better understanding of what you're heading into. It doesn't replace seeing the trail in person, especially because conditions change, but it helps me decide whether a trail fits my Jeep and what I should be prepared for before leaving home. Click the link in the description for more info. The drive into this area is already a great change of scenery. Once you leave the pavement behind, you're surrounded by tall trees, granite, and high country terrain. Strawberry Lake is an out and back trail, so whatever you drive through on the way in, you'll be seeing again on the way out. That's worth remembering when you're choosing lines or squeezing through some of the narrower sections. The trail starts out fairly mild, but the surface gets rockier as you continue. There isn't much smooth dirt out there. Even between the more noticeable obstacles, you're constantly driving over loose rocks, exposed granite, and uneven terrain. It's not necessarily difficult every second, but it rarely lets you completely relax. One of the biggest things that stood out to me was just how many loose rocks are scattered across the trail. A lot of them move as soon as your tire touches them, so a line that looks good from inside of the Jeep can change halfway through the obstacle. You'll feel rocks roll underneath the tires, and they can push the Jeep toward a tree or put your differential directly over something you were trying to avoid. Good tire placement definitely helps, but you also need to keep your momentum under control. Charging through the loose sections would make the ride much rougher and increase the chance of sliding into something. The Gladiator's wheelbase helps it feel stable, but the breakover angle is always something I'm thinking about. There are plenty of places where a shorter Jeep can clear a rock without much thought, while a Gladiator driver needs to be more deliberate about where the front and rear tires are placed. The biggest challenge on Strawberry Lake isn't necessarily the height of the obstacles. It's the width of the trail. There are several really tight pinches between trees, rocks, and the edge of the trail. In a short wheelbase Jeep, most of these sections probably aren't a huge concern. In a Gladiator, especially one you care about keeping somewhat straight, they require a little more attention. You have to watch both ends of the Jeep. The front might clear a tree perfectly, but as you turn, the rear quarter and bed begin swinging toward it. There are a few places where you need to use nearly every inch of available space. The fallen trees have also made some of these pinches tighter than they would normally be. They push you away from the original line and closer to the trees or rocks on the opposite side. That's one reason trail conditions matter so much. A written guide, waypoint, or older video can give you a general idea of what to expect, but a fallen tree, erosion, or rocks moving during the season can completely change an individual section. If you're driving a full-size truck, something wide, or anything with a long wheelbase, I would take these areas slowly and use a spotter whenever you can't clearly see the passenger side. Pinstripes are a definite possibility out there. Even though the tight sections demand most of your attention while you're driving, make sure you stop occasionally to look around. This is a beautiful part of the Sierra National Forest. You're surrounded by tall trees, granite terrain, small bodies of water, and occasional openings that give you a look at the surrounding mountains. That's one of my favorite things about this trail. You aren't just driving from obstacle to obstacle, the entire area feels remote, and the scenery changes as you climb higher into the forest. There are more difficult trails nearby if your only goal is finding the largest obstacles possible, but Strawberry Lake offers a good combination of technical driving, scenery, and a destination at the end. Eventually, the trees open up and you arrive at Strawberry Lake. It's a great place to stop, have lunch, walk around, and give the Jeep a quick inspection before heading back. The lake is surrounded by trees and granite, and it feels much farther away from everything than it actually is. After spending the drive watching mirrors, dodging trees, and feeling loose rocks move underneath your tires, it's a perfect payoff. Just remember that arriving at the lake means you're only halfway finished. You still have to turn around and run every one of those tight sections again. Overall, I really enjoyed Strawberry Lake Trail. I wouldn't describe it as an extreme rock crawling trail, but it has enough loose terrain and tight sections to keep the drive interesting. The difficulty also depends heavily on your vehicle. A short and narrow rig will have a much easier time maneuvering between the trees. A Gladiator, full-size truck, or wider axle setup is going to make those same sections feel considerably more technical. Based on the conditions during this run, the biggest concerns were the loose rocks, the tight turns, and the fallen trees and narrowing sections of the trail. Body damage is avoidable, but you need to take your time and be aware of how the rear of your vehicle is tracking. I'd recommend having four-wheel drive, lockers, adequate ground clearance, durable tires, recovery equipment, and preferably another vehicle with you. Trail conditions can change, so research the route before heading out and never assume it will look exactly like an older video or guide. For someone looking for a scenic Sierra trail with some technical sections and a great destination, Strawberry Lake is absolutely worth running. Let me know in the comments if you've run Strawberry Lake and how your run went when you made the trip. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking it and subscribing to follow the Rad JT build as we continue running trails throughout the Sierra Nevada. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next trail.